I'm about to change the transmission fluid on my Jaguar XK8. I've got about 86,000 miles on it. It's supposed to have a sealed for life transmission, but I think that really means sealed for death, because if you don't change the transmission, in my opinion, eventually, something's going to wear out and it's going to go bad. I've got the car up on jack stands, and I've got some lights under here so that I can see better while I'm down there. I hate working underneath the car while it's on jack stands, but I don't own a lift, so I don't have much of a choice. I did get to buy myself a new toy. I bought myself a new set of jack stands right here. These are they're made out of aluminum. I got them from Harbor Freight Tools. It was only like $28 because I used this 20% off coupon. And they're really sturdy. They're supposed to hold 3 tons each, so I should be safe, I hope. I have my fingers crossed. One of the things you need to do is make sure the car is level. I've got it as level as it can be between the jack stands. I'm a tiny bit high in the back, but just a tiny bit. So the way to do this is just along the bottom here. You can put a level and see how close you are to being level. Next thing here, I've got my reservoir to catch all the fluid under there, and the pan. Let me get under here. The pan is right there. You can see it with all the little lines on it, and then right there towards the front, right in the middle of the screen, that's the drain plug, and it's either an 8mm or a 10mm hex head. I'm pretty sure it's 8. So I'm gonna pull out my wrench and drain the fluid. Air tools are awesome. Well, it's still draining. It's only been a minute or two. It did tend to splatter all over the place here, as you can see. So I probably should have put something down, but hey, you live and you learn. But while I'm at it, my really cool air ratchet that I used to take that off, I got it at Harbor Freight for like 25 or 30 bucks. It was cheap, and it makes my life so much easier. Next thing to do here is take out all these bolts. You can see them there. They're Torx head bolts. This is them right there. They're Torx head bolts. Mine are T27 Torx. My understanding is that some of the later model cars, they used either T30s or T40s. The T27s have a tendency to strip out, and hopefully I won't strip any of these. The head strip out. So I have the right size Torx bit here, and hopefully I'll be able to get all of these out without stripping any. Well, this sucks. I haven't even got one of the bolts out, and I can already tell that they're not going to want to come free. I've tried 3 or 4 of them, and it's wanting to strip the heads. So I'm going to spray all of them with some liquid wrench. Hopefully that'll help a little bit, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to strip some of them. This seems kind of crazy, but I've sprayed the liquid wrench all over them. I've let it soak in for a while, and I still can't budge any of them. So my next step, I've got my impact wrench. I'm probably going to strip some out in the process, but I'm hoping that the hammering effect will break them free. But to do this, it's a 1/2 inch impact wrench, and my T27 socket is a 1/4 inch, so I had to size it down twice to make it work. But here goes. This impact wrench is so awesome. I was certain I was going to strip some out. When I was just trying to use a wrench and put leverage on there, it just wasn't working. That they were getting really close to stripping the threads. Not the threads, but the Torx bit at the top. Anyway, with this thing, I haven't gotten all of them out yet, but I've gotten quite a few out. And even some of them, they're like really corroded. I can't really get that in focus, but you can see the corrosion on there, and it just broke it free with no problem. And I'm not stripping out the heads or anything. All right, here we go. Watch this. I don't know if you can see that. This is hard to do with a camera in one hand and the wrench in the other. But here we go. Look at that. Came right off of there. Well, I guess I spoke too soon. Wouldn't you know it, there's 2 bolts that wouldn't come out. And of course they're in the most difficult place to get to, where I can't really get any pliers or anything up into them. So I'm gonna have to drill them out and use a screw remover tool. get them out. It's going to take me a while. But anyway, I thought I'd gotten lucky. And I know that the impact wrench really made it a lot easier, but still there were two that just wouldn't come out. All right, it's now the next day. Here's one of the good screws that I pulled from the transmission pan. I went to the Jag dealership this morning and I got two more. The difference between the old one and the new one is that the new ones, they use a T40 bit rather than a T27. So in the future, they'll be less likely to strip out. When I called the guy ahead of time just to make sure they were in stock, he told me that they had 61 of them in stock and that they were about $3 each. So I just figured I'd get two. But then after I talked to him for a few minutes, he gave me a discount and he only charged me $1.20 a piece, which was really cool. Except then after I realized I'd already paid for them and stuff, I started thinking, wow, for $1.20 a piece, I should have just bought 21 of them and replaced every screw in the pan. It would only cost $25 or so, but I didn't do that. So I'm going to be using the old screws and two of the T40 screws. Also, I got one of these things. This is a screw extractor for if the screws get stuck. And the way these work, there's a bunch of different sizes, but they've got threads on these that cut into the screw. You drill a hole down into the screw, and then you insert this in there, and you twist it. And as you twist it, it wants to drive deeper into the screw, but it also tries to unscrew the screw. So I should be able to get the screws out with this if I can't get it out with this first. I bought myself some big hefty locking pliers. And I'm hoping that I can grab the screws with this and get the last two screws out. If not, then I'll resort to this thing. And I got all these things at Harbor Freight Tools. They were dirt cheap. I think this was like $6 or $7 and this was $8 or something. I got a discount because I used one of the 20% off coupons out of the back of a car magazine. Anyway, here I go out to the garage, try to finish this up. All right, so here I go trying to extract this screw. I got this drill, this right angle drill, air drill from Harbor Freight. I think it was like $24 or something. It was cheap. So now finally, after hammering on it and twisting and hammering and twisting, it finally came loose. And so one of the two torque screws is now out. Just leaves one more and then I can drop the pan. And finally, number two comes out. So there's only this one. I got one over here that's finger tight somewhere, holding it in. So I'll get my my Torx bit ready because this whole thing is going to want to drop down as soon as this comes out. Alright, I'm about to drop the pan here. Oh, I got fluid coming out. Let me grab my pan. Oh, don't get it in my face. There we go. I guess I probably should have put a big rag or something underneath here. Alright, that one's out. I think that one's out. That's out now. Alright, now here comes this one. Oh shit. I'll try to bleep out my cussing. Oh, it didn't want to come out. And I make it look so easy on YouTube, don't I? There we go. It'd be much easier if I was on a lift. Or if the car was on a lift. If I was on a lift. Oh, shit. Okay, this screw is just really, really tight. Oh fuck, the head broke off. Alright, I'll have to figure out some way to get that one out of there. Here comes all kinds of extra fluid. Am I missing one or what? It doesn't want to drop down. There it goes. And there we go. That's the underside of the transmission. And so here we have the transmission pan after it's been removed. The filter is actually buried underneath here. It's like embedded in the plastic, and I don't know, I think the fluid flows in through there and then back up through that tube, but there's a filter underneath there. It's all built in, you can't replace it. And then these are the magnets over here that are supposed to pick up any shavings of steel that come off of the transmission. And I don't know what it's supposed to look like. I do see some stuff on there. I don't know if I don't know how much is acceptable, but there is a little bit of like iron filings on there, but it's just a very small amount. I'll ask the people on Jaguar forums, they know everything. And here is my new pan. I don't think this is a genuine ZF part because it says made in Taiwan. It cost me $101 from rockauto.com, but it's supposed to be a direct replacement for the ZF pan. So I saved 27 bucks, but in hindsight, I'm kind of thinking I just wished I'd spent the extra money. I kind of thought I was going to be getting an actual ZF pan, but you know, maybe this is, I don't know. But looks identical to me, except this one's wrapped in plastic. It's got the magnets and the filter is already built in down there. So let me open this thing up and get ready to install it. So I've been comparing these two pans, and I've noticed two differences. The first is that on the original pan, it's got a little tab, I guess, for grabbing hold of the gasket and pulling it out, and the tab is over on the right side. And on the new one, it's over on the left side, which is, I guess it doesn't make any difference, but it's just on different sides. But the other thing I've noticed, and you know, I don't think this is going to make a difference. I'm sure it's going to fit. As far as strength, I'm wondering, if you look at this, from screw hole to screw hole, it's just solid all the way across. And on the new one, there's like a recessed area between each screw. And then the thickness here is thinner because of the recessed area between each screw. I mean, I don't know why they would have done that. It might have saved them 12 cents in plastic, but maybe it's a cheap Taiwanese pan and you get what you pay for. I don't know. The next thing I'm going to do here, all along, well, first I need to get that old screw out, but all along where the gasket's going to go, I want to clean that really well. I'm going to take a razor blade to it, I'm going to scrape it off, and then I'm just going to clean it really well with, you know, some kind of cleaner. I don't know what kind, but I'll clean it off really well before I put the new pan in place. I don't know if this is really necessary or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. Before I install the pan, I'm going to just take a little dab of oil on my finger, transmission fluid, and rub it around this O-ring here so that the O-ring will slide into the little slot easily once it goes up inside the transmission. And I'm also going to put a little bit of oil all around the gasket here, just so that when I'm pressing it into place, it doesn't get stuck to the metal of the transmission and not want to move. Anyway, I'm about to put the transmission pan back in. I'm getting ready to put the pan back on, and one thing I did, the screws have to be torqued down in a very specific sequence, so I printed out the sequence and I taped it to the bottom side of the pan. That way when I start putting the screws in and I start torquing them down, I'll know which sequence to go in. It'll be right there in front of me. Alright, here I go, putting the pan back in place. One of the things you got to do, this little thing right here feeds into a little hole up in there. So I want to line that up real carefully and guide it up in there. Now I just want to get a couple of the screws started here to hold it in place. That one's good. Alright, now I've got a couple of them just barely in place. Now before I torque all these down, what I want to do, I want to put all of them in. There's I think 24 screws. I want to put every single one of them in and get them to where the pan is flush up against the body of the transmission. And only after all of them are pushed up so that the pan is up against the body of the transmission. Well, these two new ones right here, I actually had a little bit of trouble, screwing them in. They were, I don't know, the threads that were in there seemed to be stripped or cross-threaded or something. But anyway, they're in. Hopefully everything's going to be good now. Having that little chart to tell me the sequence to torquing things down was very helpful. I ended up not even using the torque wrench, which is might be a bad thing. I don't know. Might come back to bite me. I don't think it will though, because the way this works is you're torquing it down. That little rubber gasket is getting squeezed, and you can feel it getting squeezed, and you can feel when it stops. And when it stops, I just got to the point where when I felt it stop, I tightened it up till it was nice and snug, and maybe even then a little bit more, and moved on to the next one. So next thing to do is to put some fluid into the transmission. Alright, next we're going to put some fluid into the transmission, and what you're going to need is one of these. It's just an 8mm hex socket, and you're also going to need an 8mm, actually this is a 5/16, but it fits. 8mm would be a little bit better, but you need a 5/16 inch socket, just a regular socket, and then to be really helpful, you'll need a 5/16 or 8mm ratcheting socket. This is one of those that it only turns one way, and that becomes really helpful, and you'll see why in just a few minutes. Because actually, I'll show you right now. Because when you're up in there beside the transmission, and you've got the bolt in there. First, this right here isn't strong enough to break free the fill plug. The fill plug's in there pretty tight, and I actually used one of these, and I actually stripped it. It no longer works because I was trying to use it to break the fill plug free. So just use a regular one and put it on there, and use that to break it free. And then once that's on, you can take this one and put it on, and use that to loosen it the rest of the way up. And like I said, it's up in there. It's really hard to get to, but one of the good things is that if you got some good rubber or some good leather gloves, the exhaust pipe doesn't get too hot. You can feel the heat, but you're not going to burn yourself. All right, so here we are under the car, about to put fluid in. Right here is the drain plug. The fill plug is over here on the side. Maybe it's 2 inches forward of where the drain plug is, but it's really low, and that kind of surprised me because I thought it was going to be up much higher. But if you when you go to put fluid in the car, you'll notice that unless the engine's running, the fluid just drains right out of the fill plug, and that's because it's so low. When the car is running, it sucks fluid up, and you don't have to worry about it draining out. Now, you saw what I did there. I just took this. I've got one hand on one side of the exhaust pipe, and I've got one hand on the other, and I stuck that 8mm socket, or the hex socket, through there. And now I can use this little wrench to break it free. And it's really, really tough, and I'm probably going to have to get a cheater bar to put here on this little wrench. Yeah, I might have to go get a cheater bar to do that. But let me do that, and I'll get back. A little bar like this is so valuable. All it is just a piece of steel, but it lets me, gives me a lot more leverage than I would have otherwise. And man, I hope it will strip that plug. I'm gonna be really mad if I strip that plug. Oh shit, I don't know what happened. That didn't sound good. Hopefully it's just the socket. Yeah, the plug is fine. Let me try this again, and this time I'll use the other end of the wrench. If this was a 6-point rather than 12-point, that probably wouldn't have happened. But let me get that in. Anyway, I'll do this off camera and show you the results when I'm done. Alright, I went to my bag of random wrenches that I've accumulated over the years, and I found an 8 6-point, so this should work. Get that through there. I just don't want to, I'm worried now. I mean, this is really tight. I'm worried about rounding off the inside of the fill plug. That would be really, really bad because if that happens, I have no way to fill the transmission back up. What happened there? Let me see. Yes, it broke free. All right. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that out. I can use this one that's ratcheting. And that's the wrong way. I want to go this way. So now I can put this one up in there. And just like that, I can unscrew the fill plug. And once it gets to the point where we're actually filling stuff up, we have to do it with the engine running. And this exhaust pipe that my hand is wrapped around gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And a leather glove will be mandatory at that point. And there's what the fill plug looks like. Here's what I'm going to use to pump the fluid into the transmission. I got this at Harbor Freight Tools. It was $10, and it kind of ticks me off because I see coupons in the backs of magazines all the time where they're selling this for $4.99. But I didn't have one with me, so I had to pay $10 for it. And this is the transmission fluid I'm using. There's big debates on the internet about the correct type of transmission fluid to use. Some people say you absolutely have to use the ZF fluid, which is, I don't know, it's anywhere from $17 to $70 a quart. It depends on who you ask. But the the Lincoln Navigator and a couple other Ford cars, they also use the 6 HP 26 transmission, and Ford specifies Mercon SP, not Mercon 5 or Mercon V or just plain Mercon. It's got to be the Mercon SP. So that's what I got. This cost me $6.39 a quart, and I bought 10 quarts because I was hoping to get some of the fluid out of the torque converter. I don't know how many I'm going to be using, but I've got plenty to fill up the transmission. Alright, this is going to get kind of messy, so I've got lots of paper towels handy. I'm just going to keep pumping fluid in here until it gets to the point where the pan won't hold any more fluid, and at that point I need to start up the engine and start measuring the temperature. So here I go, I'm just pumping fluid, pump as much in as I can, and then I'll show you what to do once the pan fills up. Okay, now I've gotten to the point where I filled it up as much as it'll hold without the engine running, and transmission fluid is just starting to drip out. So this next part, the Jaguar manual tells you to do it one way, but there's actually 3 different options. You can do it the Jaguar way, which is to hook the car to the fancy computer that'll give you the internal transmission temperature. I don't happen to have a fancy Jaguar computer, so I can't do that. The next option is to take a temperature probe of some kind, insert it into the fill hole, and measure the temperature of the transmission fluid inside the transmission pan. Or the third option, and that's what I'm going to do, is to use one of these things. This is just what do they call it? An infrared thermometer. So I turn it on, and I aim it at the bottom of the pan and press the button, and there's a little laser that tells me where I'm pointing, and right now it says it's 70 degrees, but I want to move it over to Celsius, so it's 21.2 degrees. I want to measure the fluid between 35 and 50 degrees Celsius. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to start up the engine, I'm going to shift it into gear, I'm going to put it in reverse and then in drive, and then shift it through all the other gears to circulate the fluid that's in there. And then, I'm going to have to go look at the book. I either leave it in neutral or I leave it in drive. I forget which. I think maybe I leave it in drive. I'll go look it up and I'll tell you in just a second. But whatever, I leave it in whatever gear it's supposed to be in. And then I keep pumping fluid in until I've pumped in as much as I think it's going to take. And then I keep measuring the temperature here with the thermometer. And when it gets between 35 and 50 degrees, the temperature is going to cause the fluid to heat up, and when it heats up, it's going to expand, and it's going to overflow, and it's going to start running out, and I'm going to have a little pan down here to catch it. But I want to I want the fluid to overflow between 35 and 50, and it's got to keep warming up more and more while that's going on. So once it starts overflowing is when, as long as it's between 35 and 50, that's when I want to cap it off. Okay, I just looked it up. What I want is a small stream of fluid running out when the temperature's at 40 degrees. If it gets above 50, then I have to turn off the engine, let everything cool down, and start over. And all this is done with first you cycle through all the gears, pausing in each gear, and then the level checking is done with the transmission in park. So here I go. Alright, it's actually been a little bit overfilled, and some fluid came spewing out, and right now I'm not warm enough yet. I'm at that's Fahrenheit. I'm at 27 degrees, so I'm just letting this warm up. Sometimes this might take 15 or 20 minutes from what I've read on the internet. The exhaust pipe, however, is now 88 degrees, so I'd burn my hand. It's warming up, but it's doing it slowly. I'm around 30 degrees now. Alright, now here's the hardest part of the whole job. I've got to cap this thing off. I've got the trickle, I'm at 40 degrees. I'm trying to get my wrench here. This is the part that sucks. So I'll be able to tighten. Alright, I've got my whole little assembly put together here, and I've got to feed it up in here without burning myself. Ah, shit, I burned myself. Maybe I should use 2 gloves next time. Alright, I've got it plugged, that's a good thing. That means I can turn the engine off now. Well, I made a mess. My memory card ran out while I was in the process of tightening up the filler plug. But I'm pretty much done. The temperature got up to like 41.2. I plugged it up when there was just a trickle, so I mean that's perfect. But I made a mess of my garage. Look at all the clutter I've got here. I got a big mess to clean up now, and I've really made a mess of my floor. But hey, it'll clean up. And one of these days I'm going to put fancy tile down in here, so it'll look really cool. But yeah, that's it. I got my transmission fluid changed, got the pan changed, and I'm pretty happy about it.